thanks for coming. Such a huge crowd here. I'm so honored that you took the time out of your day to be here. But it is an important topic, and I think we'll all learn a lot, have fun, and eat, because look what Katie made. Lots of great stuff to eat. Thank you, Katie. The staff is going to have a party tonight. Thank you for having me here at Appalachian Outdoors to talk about healthy habits to energize your outdoor activities. I should look at my notes so I'm not looking behind me, but I'll do my best. So I'll tell you a little bit about me, in case you don't know me, which a lot of people you don't actually. And I am the owner of the Wellness Forum in State College, and the Wellness Forum, my name is Kathy Pollard, and the Wellness Forum is a national health education organization that is there to teach people really how much control that we all have over our health, more than we sort of realize, or more than is commonly known. And the reason we know this is because there is such a deluge of information out there now that's directly correlating our dietary practices and what we eat with our health. Now, I mean, that sounds pretty obvious, but what we know now from a lot of research and from, migrant studies looking at people who move from one culture to another is that, most of the chronic conditions and diseases that we suffer from, live with, and die from in our society is really born by the food and how much effect what we eat has on our health. And that's why the Wellness Forum is here. And I always like to start with the mission statement of the Wellness Forum, which is to empower individuals to take control of their health by providing up-to-date information about how health, nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle choices impact health, longevity, and the quality of life, because we really have so much control. So we're going to talk about healthy habits on those really active days when we're outdoors, but really, it's like the same pattern of eating. You're just going to learn how to ramp it up a little bit. So everything we're going to talk about today is applicable to your daily life. How great is that? So the question is, what do we need to eat? What's the nutrition? This is terrible, because I'm going to be, sorry, I'm looking at the screen. That's okay. What do we need to eat for endurance and energy? That's the question. We have the needs of an active day, or when we exercise. We need more calories. We need to satisfy our demand for a higher level of energy and oxygen. So what do we need to eat in order to have the optimal calorie load in our body? Well, we need basically the macronutrients, which we're all familiar with, in order to get the calories, and that's protein, fat, and carbohydrate. And if you look at the ratio of how much we need, it doesn't really change. Like, if you're going to be sick and sleep all day, or if you're going to go out and climb a mountain. What's different on the active days is that you need to eat more. You need to get more calories. You don't need to get more calories from a certain group, a certain food group. You need to energize your body with healthy fuel, and the fuel that our body wants to use is complex carbohydrates. So as you can see, we need a bit of protein, we need a bit of fat, 10 to 15%, and we need a lot of carbohydrates because that's what our body easily breaks down for fuel. So that ratio doesn't really change. It's that we need to consume more of those good foods. We need to get these macronutrients in healthy foods, and that's what I'll mention now. The healthiest way to get these calories is from the whole food, from eating whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. And that's basically it, folks. You eat those foods and you base your diet on these healthy, whole plant foods. I'll talk about that word plant again in a minute. And you are nourishing your body. The beauty of that is that you get fiber with that. And when you eat fiber, you're filling yourself up with calorie dilute and nutritionally dense, really nutritional food without a lot of calories. carbohydrates. So you're gonna get full, and you're gonna get the fat, and you're gonna get the protein, and you're gonna get the complex carbohydrates, all in this lovely package of real food coming from the earth, without these isolated ingredients and refined foods, where we take food from nature and we take out a lot of the good stuff like the bran and the husk from flour, and what do you have left? You have some starch, but you don't have much fiber, and you don't have the nutrients, and you have a carbohydrate that's much simpler to break down for your body. And so the sugar, which is the source of our energy, goes right into our bloodstream. Get a whole lot of sugar in our bloodstream, ramp ourselves, our mood up and our energy up, and then die later on because you're not allowing your metabolism to absorb nutrients efficiently and consistently through the day. So, you know, you're sort of, you know, your metabolism is going up and down. So it's the whole foods, particularly whole grains, that keep you, you know, keep your metabolism stable during the day. All right, so let's go through some of these macronutrients pretty quickly. Let's see if I can figure out my notes. Yes. Okay, so carbohydrates. This is why. Why do we need carbohydrates more than anything else? Because this is our form of breaking down carbohydrates is our form of energy. That's what fuels everything in our body. Every cell, every mechanism, every muscle. We need sugar. It's just glucose. We need to break down our food, use the glucose from our bloodstream, gets in the bloodstream, into all of our cells in order to operate everything. And our body wants to gain its energy source, get that glucose most easily from carbohydrates. I mean, we can break down fat and protein for our fuel, but our body doesn't really want to. It's a lot of work. It's very hard on our kidneys and our liver to do that. So you will feel lighter, more vital, and not have these tired swings if you have a constant source of this type of fuel in your body. So that's why you want to do carbohydrates. So what are carbohydrate foods? Fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes. Legumes are beans. Yes.
I have a question.
Ask question anytime.
Are legumes, like, those are full of protein, right? Does the body have a hard time breaking those down?
We don't have a hard, well, no. Bingo. Good question. The beautiful thing about these things, right, is that they're not a protein or a carbohydrate or a fat. Guess what? There's protein, fat, and complex carbohydrates in all of these foods. In all of these whole foods. You're getting a lovely packet. You know, if there's 40% protein in broccoli, who would have thought? There's fiber in that food. So that's complex, and there's complex carbohydrates, and there's phytonutrients and antioxidants in those foods, those colorful foods, including all the different colors in the legume family also, that are so protective and affect our immune system. So you get these lovely packages of protein-rich, carbohydrate-rich, fiber-filled foods. So you're filling your stomach up with the fiber. You're getting enough protein because there's about 10 or 12% protein in most foods or more, and you're getting fat. You're getting enough fat. There's about 8 to 10% of fat in the plant world in general. So that you know, there you go. Yeah, you can eat a high protein food, which are these, and get all that other good stuff too. So one myth that we sort of have just sort of in the back of our mind, never really thought about, is that meat is our source of protein. And that's true. Meat is very high in protein, and we need protein. But what we know now is we don't need a whole lot of it. You know, we don't need as much as we eat commonly in our society. And the only way you get a lot of protein is if you have these very, very high protein, very dense, fiberless foods, which are animal proteins. So, you know, it's taken me a while, but through the years, I sort of have changed my view of how I look at food, and I sort of look at them in these like two categories. The animal animal-based food category and the plant-based food category, because that really easily defines it for me. You know, I know that all the foods in this area, they have all these macronutrients that are really good for me, but they come with a lot of baggage. So if you get your protein from meat, you're also getting saturated fat, cholesterol, no fiber, because what's fiber? Fiber is like the skeletal system of a plant. So there's no fiber in meat. And fiber is what fills us up and cleans out our system every day, sucks out a lot of the toxins and extra hormones and cholesterol that we don't need. So it's really important to get enough of these vital phytonutrients from plants. We just don't eat enough of them. So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so what about protein? Do we need protein to build muscle and strength? And we need protein, right? Well, no, that's not, and protein builds stuff, right? It builds our cells up. It is what our hormones are, proteins and enzymes, and so many of the catalysts in our body that is responsible for all of the different mechanisms in our body. No question about it, we need protein. But that's not what's building our muscle. It's the exercise we do that builds our muscle. Sorry folks, can't get around it. You need to do weight-bearing exercise, end of story. You know, the only way you can carry a shopping bag is if you carry stuff every day and you get used to it. The only way you're going to be able to walk when you're 85 years old is if you walk every day, now, starting now. You know? We can't get around it. That's how our bodies are made. So we do need protein, but our requirements are actually low. So what happens with all that protein? That if we eat more than the threshold that our body wants, hey, I'll tell you what that threshold is in a minute, so just wait. We excrete it. We break it down. We store extra calories as fat. We're really good at storing extra calories because you never know when the next famine's going to come along, and our body wants to be ready. So I know, man, you know, if there's going to be a famine where I'm not going to eat for 2 weeks, I'm ready. Because why? Well, most Americans are holding a lot of extra weight. And that's exactly what that's for. Unfortunately, in our society today, we're so good at storing fat, and we're so good at getting fat, you know, our society. And when I say fat, I should say extra calories that we don't need, we're going to store. We're going to break down that food and store it. It comes in the form of protein. We're going to break down the form that protein, and we're going to store the extra calories, and we're going to excrete the nitrogen and all of the extra metabolites that we don't need from that food. That's how our body is made. We eat protein. We don't store chunks of protein, and we don't protein doesn't go in us and then goes onto our muscles and builds our muscles. It just doesn't work that way. We break down protein into its building blocks, amino acids, and we circulate those amino acids, and we have a store of those amino acids, and we build up the protein as we need it. So we don't really need to eat a lot of it. And actually, it's really stressful on our kidneys and our liver. And a lot of us in this country have liver and kidney diseases because of that. So excess protein also on those active days can lead to more dehydration. It takes a lot more water and a lot more of our calories in order of our metabolism to break down that very dense food. So especially on active days, we want to go a little lighter on our protein. And the reason I say that is I'm pretty confident in saying that is because we eat so much of it in our culture that I'm not worried of us being protein deficient, even on those active days. If you're eating food, you're going to get protein. Look at that beautiful food. Yeah.
Can I ask you something? I don't usually watch him, but I happened to turn on that Dr. Oz one day last week. And I have osteoporosis, and the show was about osteoporosis. And I was surprised about this, and now I see where you're coming from. You don't want to eat the animal protein, the protein from the animal meat. But he said if you have osteoporosis, you need more protein in your diet. That's what he said, that it was important to have that.
Yeah. Well, I would say, and I really like Dr. Oz in a lot of respects, actually. because he does his research. But you know, if you look at the science, there's a direct correlation between the countries that have the most protein, particularly dairy, in their diet, and hip fractures. There's a positive correlation, which is sort of opposite of what you think, right? Because we all know, we've been taught that drinking milk and having dairy in our diet is crucial, because why? There's a lot of calcium in dairy. And so, you know, I think there's a problem with looking at a specific food and saying, we need more of this.
Well, he wasn't pushing the meat.
Yeah.
But he broke it down into, I'm sorry, you're not into this age group yet, but he
No,
broke it down into age groups, and he said when you hit the 50s especially and above, you need that protein.
Well,
But he didn't say, he wasn't pushing the meat.
Oh,
No.
right, okay. Well, we all need protein, but what we know from so much research, particularly huge population studies, as well as those studies that compare different diets, is that those societies that have a lower amount of protein have strong bones. They have less fracture rates than the countries, particularly the Western countries, that have the most meat and dairy in their diet. So I wouldn't argue that you don't need protein. I would even argue that you need more protein. You need protein. You know when you need the most protein in your life? When you're building the most cells and you're growing the fastest. And when's that? When you're a baby. And breast milk, mother's milk, has the highest ratio, has the highest amount of protein than the normal food supply for a human. And so that's sort of a sign that when would you need more protein? Probably when you're building the most cells. So I'd love to find out what he's basing that on, because I always think you need to go to the source. You need to go and read the research yourself, because who's interpreting that research for you? Does he know, how to interpret scientific studies? Is it a statistically significant study? How is it set up? I mean, there is so many studies out there on everything that are looking at little things, little isolated ingredients on one mechanism in the body or something. And that's all interesting, but what we really need to look at, what we need to start training ourselves to look at, is like the overall dietary pattern and how that affects health. So I think that's a really good point. I'd be really curious to hear why.
Yeah, I was surprised by that he was saying that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
he was addressing people with osteoporosis, though.
There's a couple of books, but there's a bit about osteoporosis in this book, which is a really fabulous book by Dr. T. Colin Campbell. It's called The China Study, and I think it's a little mistitled because it's entitled after the biggest population study ever done on anything, on humans ever. It's done on the population of China, a huge population in the 80s. And there's just a huge amount of data we got out of that. And what's really interesting is that the Chinese had, at that time, in rural China, a very different diet than Americans, right? They had some meat in different regions, but mainly it was plant-based. And so we have learned so much by looking at the diet and the different variations between the diets in that huge country, and also comparing it with our Western diet. And what we see is that the Chinese don't suffer from osteoporosis. How can that be? They don't eat, in general, at the time of this study, very little meat in their diet. Why would that be? Well, those are the questions that we start to explore when we look at the vast differences. So I really encourage you to read this book. Another great book on bone health is called, what is that called? Building Bone Vitality by Amy Linnell. I strongly suggest you read that book.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that'll really, really answer your questions. Okay, so we digress. So protein drinks, those can give you energy, but it's probably because you just need, you need food, or it's going to satisfy your food needs. You're getting calories. So not the best way to hydrate yourself, but there are some drink mixes and drinks out there that are good. I would again avoid the animal-based protein drinks because they're really hard on your system to break down. And when you're using it for sports, or if you're an athlete, or if you're using it on an active day, you don't want your metabolism to drag you down. You want to help your metabolism be vital. So healthy foods that you can use to increase calories on active days include smoothie. I love smoothies, so I just throw in the smoothie thing. You know why? You can throw in all sorts of stuff in that blender and not taste it, like leafy green vegetables and carrots. And hey, you throw in fruit, you throw in frozen fruit, you throw in some plant milk or protein powder that's made from soy, and you got a great meal right there. And a lot of antioxidant-rich foods, I mean, just fabulous. So there are all sorts of granolas and cereals. Just look for whole grain cereals out there. And butters, almond butter or peanut butter sandwiches are great. And Katie and I sort of went through the store here, and there are some fabulous snacks in the store, just as an example of what you can bring on those active days. Freeze-dried fruits, how fabulous is that? It's just fabulous. And there are all sorts of bars out there. So what I caution you to do is to read the ingredients. And that's the only thing I care about on a label, in general, ever. Read the ingredients. You want to get foods from the store, from wherever you get foods that have a label on it, that have simple, a few ingredients, that have whole grains, not enriched grains or processed grains. And you want to avoid oil as much as you can, because we're so good at storing fat. You don't need to go looking for fat, let me tell you. And we have so much hidden fat in our foods. Besides the animal foods, which have a high amount of fat, even the lean meats and stuff, they're pretty fatty foods, like could be up to 30%. Where's my train of thought there? There. Oh yeah. In our processed foods, there's a lot of added oil that we don't need. So really be aware of that. Try and really concentrate on lessening or eliminating that oil whenever you can. So you look for a label that has just a few whole ingredients, and you're good to go. Avoid sugar as much as you can, and sugar comes in many forms. So there's lots of, we just found some pretty darn good products right here in the store, as an example. And I have this great little handout that I'll give you, which are healthy snacks. So I might as well just give it to you now, because they're here, Kate. And I have those to show. All right, I'm just going to rip through this. So read labels carefully. Isn't that great? We already went through that. And I talked about antioxidants. You know, the plants that grow on the ground have this great system that protects the plants from sun damage and fungus and bacteria and bugs. And when we eat those plants, not the bugs, but when we eat the plants, we get the same chemicals protecting us, and those are antioxidants. And the colors in all of the food in plant kingdom, the beautiful, look at these colors right here, the orange of carrots, and the greens and leafy greens, and blueberries, all the colors of the rainbow are the same chemicals that are the antioxidant chemicals that protect us. They help us clear out our blood from extra free radicals, which are really damaging molecules that accumulate when we are very active. You know, in every of our, in all of our metabolism, that's a sort of a byproduct of living. But we get a lot of free radicals when we eat bad food, and we try and break it down. And we get more of it when we exercise. So you want to balance our daily life and our bad food habits with getting as much antioxidants as you can. Feel free to come on in and join the conversation. So let's just touch on water, and we know how important water is. So we need to be extra cautious of getting enough water when we're active. Water controls our body temperature by sweating. So sweating is not a bad word. My mother thinks it is, but it really is an okay thing to do. We just need to rehydrate ourselves from just in our daily living. We lose about 2 cups from just breathing and sweating excreting every day. And on top of that, we need to add more water to our diet when we're active. So, you know, even if, and so we need to pay attention to that when we're active, because even a little bit of dehydration can really affect how we feel when we're hiking, when we're active. It'll really tire us out and make our brain fog. So what you want to do is eat and drink before you feel hungry and thirsty on an active day.
Good, how are you?
So if you're having a whole day outside sailing or whatever, you want to take a break from the really hearty cardiovascular time and drink and hydrate yourself as well as eat before you feel that you need it. So you need more during your active days. So I want you to drink a few cups of extra water before you go out on those active days, and then have it throughout the day. It's really, really important. Hydrating yourself with fruit juices and sports drinks and drink mixes and that stuff with Gatorade and all that, it gives you an added boost from the sugar. Better ways to get that added boost though. And it doesn't hydrate you as efficiently as plain water. It takes longer for that water to get in the cells. Why? Because your body is going through digestive mode. Whenever you add any carbohydrates to your water, to your food, your body is going to start digesting and stop cleansing. So don't give up that plain water. And also, go for filtered water and avoid the type of water that has no electrolytes, no minerals in it at all. And those would be like distilled water and bottled water that is treated by reverse osmosis. Yes, reverse osmosis, because that takes all of the minerals out. So you have no electrolytes. So yes, electrolytes are important, but you know, it's more important to hydrate yourself than worry about getting enough electrolytes. You will get electrolytes if you eat enough and you are hydrating yourself. Very important. All right. So what should we be eating during exercise? Well, I gave you that great list of all those snacks, but those complex carbohydrate-rich foods are great choices. Everything here is a great choice. Really don't know how much oil is in those chips, but we'll just leave it. Avoid caffeine drinks because those are diuretics and those will pull water out of your cells, out of your system, and you pee it out. So you want to avoid caffeine drinks on those days.
I have a question about
Yes.
eating during exercise.
What?
During exercise?
Eating during, you said?
Yeah. For endurance events,
Yes.
I've heard that the body can only like digest or handle 300 calories an hour. Is that true?
I am not very good at knowing the specifics of you know, calorie counting.
Okay.
So but I think the theory is right. You
Okay.
don't want to eat a really heavy, you don't want to eat a heavy meal before you're going to do endurance exercise.
Right.
You want to eat carbohydrate-rich foods a couple
Right.
of hours before. So forget the steak and eggs that morning. You want to have, you know, whatever, pancakes or muesli or those really, really lovely, rich whole grain foods and fruit. And then you want to have something light, you know, a little bit before. Like maybe, you know, fruit's really good.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're out there for like 5 or 6 hours, I'm just wondering, like, because a lot of the drinks that you have for endurance, they are protein drinks. So I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, protein isn't bad. But
Right.
you have to think of it as a whole. Like, okay, so like protein isn't a food, but soybeans are. So maybe a soy protein drink would be good because that has fiber in it. That has carbohydrates in it. You know. So I'm with you. You need to continually supply your body with a good source of protein and carbohydrates.
okay.
But if you look at the foods that have those in a package, you're good. You're good because you're getting fiber also, and you're going to be filled up. So I wouldn't go with the whey protein drinks. Those are really, really hard to break down, and you're getting a lot of calories, and that's probably what's making you, you know, boosting your energy level. But you're not helping your metabolism process those calories very well with that sort of food. Okay, good question. So then you got to rest. If you are an athlete, or if you're going to do, or if you're a weekend warrior and you go out and you do a lot, maybe you're not used to it and your muscles will be sore. That's not altogether bad, but you need to allow yourself enough rest and enough healing foods in order to recover. And what athletes are finding is that when they eat that way, when they eat diets rich in complex carbohydrates and fiber, that they're able to recover quicker. Therefore, they can have shorter recovery times and more workouts, and they get stronger. So if you allow your body the food and the clean fuel in order to get through the endurance exercise and then heal on those foods, you've got an edge. All right, so in summary, we want to consume whole foods, wholesome carbohydrate-rich foods with adequate calories and antioxidants. Don't forget the foods with antioxidants. And I'm not saying go on out and get a bottle of pills like vitamin C and all those, vitamin E, all the antioxidants in a bottle, because it doesn't have the same effect as eating it with the whole foods. We see that over and over again in research. Why is that? Well, we don't know why everything, because we're just humans. We don't know the complexity of all the different mechanism that goes on when we eat food. It's just like way beyond us right now, okay? And what we do know is that processing food and digestion is just a symphony of mechanisms going on there. And when you isolate an ingredient and give your body a whole lot of that ingredient without the co-vitamins and the co-factors that are there, and a lot of these phytochemicals we haven't even discovered yet. We keep discovering antioxidants all the time. You're depriving your body from taking that whole food and using it the way it needs to. Maybe you're more tired one day, or you cut your finger, or you're going through something one day, and your body needs more of something like vitamin E, to heal. And if you, play God and you decide, I'm going to take this vitamin, and maybe that's not what your body needs that day. You're giving it a whole lot of something else that it has to deal with. So, we should be a little humble at the very complex mechanism that we are, and let our body do its work. If we give our body the food it needs, our body will repay us in just remarkable ways, because our body wants to be in this very delicate state of homeostasis. It wants to continue to find its way back to health, and it wants to heal. Just like you cut your finger and we heal, our body will heal inside if we give it the right foods. And it really is remarkable. I mean, there are clinicians out there who are now reversing, I'm not just saying halting, but reversing really serious diseases. Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Dean Ornish, Neil Barnard. There are so many now out there who are using dietary intervention to heal. So if it works for really sick people, we should take heed. And just imagine what our society could be like if we made better choices. And once we learn that, once we're educated as to how, what the foods are out there that we should be feeding our body, it's sort of our responsibility to take control of our health, because there's a lot of cost out there, emotional, physical, in our society, to our family, to ourselves. I mean, it really is a profound responsibility, I think, for all of us to take control of our health. Okay, in summary, eat good food. Get your nutrients from those whole foods rather than the refined foods, the sugary, or the foods that have those isolated ingredients like sugar and oil added to them. And drink enough water, particularly before, during, and after exercise, meaning you need to hydrate yourself all day long. And choose healthy snacks and drinks that replenish you, not deplenish you. And pay attention to your body's need for rest and sleep. We don't sleep enough in this country. We don't give ourselves enough break. And you know, that's when we heal. That's when we heal, when we're sleeping. That's when we let our cells repair. Yeah, so, you know, really pay attention to what your body is telling you. So I will open it up for any further questions, but I just wanted to mention a couple of things that are coming up. One is a phenomenal movie that's coming back to the State Theater called Forks Over Knives. And it is a movie about sort of what we touched on, the amazing clinicians, researchers, and doctors who have discovered the healing powers of plant-based nutrition and are actually implementing it to reverse disease, as well as a lot of people who have found their way to better health through learning optimal dietary habits. So that's on Wednesday, September 21st at 4 or 7 p.m. Come to the State Theater. It is a movie that has been playing all over the country this summer and is literally changing thousands and thousands of lives. And I just cannot recommend it enough. So that's coming to our town. We are so lucky because we got to see this movie before it came out this summer. It's been all over the country. And we get to see this movie in our town right at the end of its showing. And actually, it's being taken out of theaters about now. Just went through this, seems like a summer movie. So we're lucky. I teach Wellness 101 courses in this town, and my next one is coming up in October 26th, and I can teach you how easy and affordable and logical it is to eat well and how it can affect your health. So let me know if you want more information about that. And if anyone has any further questions in this huge crowd, I'd be happy to entertain. If not, I expect everybody to come and eat now because we have lots of food.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.